Welcome back, everybody. This week we're going to be doing a standing practice, and we're going to be playing with some wide-legged stance, wide-legged forward fold, a little bit of strengthening, and just in general some spinal and pelvis awareness, tiny bit of core involvement, that kind of thing. So we're going to start off standing tall in mountain. So just finding those contact points between your feet and the floor, noticing where you instinctively want to send your weight, and then just notice if you can kind of balance it a little bit more between the 3 points at the bottom of each foot. So we've got at the base of the baby toe, the base of the big toe, and we've got the center of the heels. All right, creating length up through the spine, rib cage is stacked over pelvis, shoulders are up, back, and down, neck is long. And taking some nice deep breaths, arms just hanging by your side naturally. All right. So first we're going to step it wide. So we're going to, 1 foot at a time, step the foot out just a little bit. Okay, finding a wide-legged stance where you can maintain a neutral pelvis and spine. Okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did do a video a while back called Finding Your Wide-Legged Stance. I'll link it above right now. I highly recommend checking that one out just to make sure that you are not borrowing from your spine in order to step wide if you've run out of the hip mobility to step wide. So finding the right width for you can be important if you're doing a lot of this kind of work, because over time, inefficiencies can build up to become repetitive strain injuries. Okay, so we're in a wide-legged stance here. Our toes are pointing forward, and we're still just stacked from the pelvis up as if we were in mountain pose. So I'm going to take a couple breaths here. And from here, we're going to begin to hinge. You can put your fingers, your hands, the blade of your hands, just right against the front crease of your hip. Your spine is going to stay long and straight as you begin to hinge at that point where your hands are. So we're just going to lower as far as we can with a straight back, watching that you're not locking your knees out. Have a little bit of softness there. And you're just going to go where you can with a straight back. So I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see what I'm doing here. So my back is staying straight as I send my weight forward. And eventually I'm going to start letting my hands get ready to reach for the floor. And there may come a point where you do need to round your back a little bit. Alternatively, you could have a chair. So if you need to come out of this for a sec, you can. You could have a chair in front of you so that as you hinge at the hips, you can have your hands on the chair. Notice how my legs are pretty straight up and down. A lot of people will counterbalance by sending their bum out. We're kind of just wanting to hinge forward. So in the beginning, when the strength in your lower legs is not quite enough to help keep your balance, having a chair there is really good. And then you can get to the point where maybe you're here and you've got your hands on the seat of a chair, okay? So I'm gonna come back to here. I'm in a wide-legged forward fold. And I'm gonna play with bending one knee, shifting my weight over to one side a little bit. So a little bit of a side lunge situation, feeling that lengthening down that inner thigh, coming back up through center, bending the other knee. If you need to move your fingertips along the floor a little bit, that's fine. Coming back up through center, all the while checking in with your spine. As you shift your lower body a little bit side to side, do you lose some of that straight integrity through your back? And if you maybe don't shift quite as far, or maybe simply you just need to keep your back in mind, are you able to keep it a little more neutral? Can you move parts of your lower body and how you're carrying your weight without it completely affecting the positioning or quietness or integrity of your upper body? Or does your whole body get kind of wiggly? Okay, we're going to come back through center. Now from here, again, I'm going to turn so that you can see me. I'm going to be in my wide-legged stance, and I'm going to start to walk my hands forward. So now we're coming into a bit of a downward dog with a wide-legged stance. Now your downward dog might be more here for right now, and that's fine. You can still do this using the chair. You're just going to be in more of a this kind of position. Well, I can't do it exactly because I don't have a chair to hold me up, but you'll be in more of a this kind of position. You can just relax into it as best as you can. I know downward dog is not always a restful position, even though they like to call it a rest pose. You can start to walk your hands back in. And we're going to just heel and toe our feet in a little bit, bring a bend into the knees, and come back up to standing. Okay? So just get yourself reacquainted in this standing position, giving your legs a little bit of a break from that wide stance. And when you're ready, we're going to step it out again. If you needed to readjust the width of your stance last time, try to see if you can instinctively go back to that more proper position for yourself this time. All right, so we're going to step it out wide. Toes are currently facing forward. We're going to shift the weight a little bit into one leg so that we can lift the ball of one foot, rotate from the hip joint so that the foot's at 45 degrees, lower the ball of that foot. Now we're going to lift the ball of the left foot, rotate the hip 45 degrees, and lower the ball of the left foot. So now we're in a wide-legged stance with the legs turned out. Hands can rest gently on the backs of the thighs, and you're just going to begin to bend the knees a little bit. And you can come back up. So this is moving in and out of a goddess position. The purpose of the hands is to help avoid the knees collapsing inward and the arches collapsing inward. We want to keep the legs tracking. You don't need to go low. You might be here. You might be here. Everything is perfectly fine. Notice how your weight distributes. I notice my right leg feels like it wants to take more of the weight, and it's almost like I do this kind of a thing as I lowered. It's very subtle. You wouldn't see it on the camera, but I can feel it happening within my body. So I'm just going to lower low enough where it's a fairly even weight distribution. And I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see that as I lower down, my torso is still in essentially mountain pose, right? I'm not pitching forward and doing kind of a squat. I'm staying upright through my torso. Now, the next time you bend down, we're just going to hold it for 3 breaths. All right, and you can exhale as you come up. You can heel toe your feet in one at a time, whatever feels comfortable for you. Coming back to mountain pose, feeling that strength, that warmth through your legs now that you've engaged them a bit, or maybe that was a lot. We're all starting from different places. Some of us have injuries. Some of us are recovering from an injury. Some of us just haven't moved in a long time. So while sometimes the exercises or strengthening videos I give might seem really, really, really simple to some, they can be challenging to others, and it's also important to do some of that small strengthening from a really good foundation of good mobility, good positioning. Because if you're building strength on weird form and wacky compensation patterns, you're just building a house of cards. Even athletes can benefit from coming back to some of this really, really foundational work. It can really up their game. All right, so we're going to end that practice here today, and I hope that that was good for you, and I will see you next week.